What is up, guys? Adrian here from loshtv. I am joined with one of the nicest people, coolest people you'll ever see, and that is my boy, Scott from Exploring Attractions.
What's up, y'all? It's been a while since Adrian and I have done this, and I'm excited because we have yet to collab in such a long time. Really, it hasn't been that long. We've been in each other's vlogs when I'm out in Orlando, but as far as like a podcast environment, it's been a while.
It's been way too long, and the people have been wanting it, and we know this.
Oh yeah,
so that's why we're
the
here.
The demand's crazy. I've been reading the universal surveys.
They ask at the end of every single, like, when you're exiting the park, they ask if you want to see Horror Nights Unscripted come back.
Right.
If you guys didn't, if you don't believe me, go to the park and check it out.
And definitely, even the general public knows exactly what Horror Nights Unscripted is.
Exactly, they all do. Everyone does. But anyways, today we are going to be something that I typically do every single March. However, we decided to take it upon ourselves and do it together. Like I said, it is March, so it is time for some March Madness. Not just any March Madness, Horror Nights March Madness. So, I was thinking there of an idea that we can do because I've done originals, IPs, scare zones, a bunch of everything.
Right.
But, Scott and I came up with a great idea. I'm going to let him explain it to you.
So essentially what we're going to be doing today is, like Adrian's done March Madness before, it's just a bracket, essentially like the basketball tournament. By the way, go Aztecs. I mean, depending on when this comes out, they could have already been eliminated again. But basically you have a bracket of, I don't know how many we have in total, but it's 32 that you have? 32 properties on there of what we have been through as far as Orlando and Hollywood. So just we figured it'd be kind of fun to pin up certain houses up against each other. This is in no way like, 2022 or 2020, just stuff like that. It's just literally houses that both Adrian and I have experienced, and there are some properties on here that are just grouped together. So for example, the Horrors of Blumhouse is all grouped together. It's not just one specific house, meaning Orlando's version 1 is grouped together with Hollywood's version 3, stuff like that. So when you hear a property, it's all grouped together with all the different houses that have been featured at the different events.
So like Scott said, we have 32 different properties here. It is going to be a lot of fun. I put them in a random generator instead of going through the trouble of actually pinning up some good opponents. This way, there is no for sure winner on one side of the bracket, and it's just a little bit more fun and more exciting. So yeah.
Exactly.
We're going to dive straight into this the easiest way possible, and that is with number 1.
Yep.
And number 1 is
we'll give our quick
be...
little reasons for them too.
Yeah, exactly. Number 1 is AVP, which is Alien vs. Predator, going up against Halloween.
Okay.
And now that would be Halloween.
And remember, this is all Halloween's
Field.
grouped together.
Yeah, and then it's the 2 AVPs that were exactly the same in Hollywood and the 1 AVP from Orlando.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So should I take the show on this one?
Yeah, you can start this one off.
Okay, so me personally, well, I guess we didn't think this far. What happens in the result of a dispute? What if you select one and I select one?
I guess we can go... We didn't think this through. We didn't think of a third person. We can flip a coin.
Yeah, you know. Okay, we'll flip a coin.
We'll flip
a
coin. That way it's up to fate. I have a quarter right here.
Okay, there we go. That's what makes it fun and exciting. As you can see, this is a little bit like robust, but we're just having fun with this, so please don't take this as some serious, amazing video. We're just having fun with this. 2 friends having fun for y'all all entertainment. But AVP versus Halloween. So we've obviously seen different Halloweens come to Horror Nights. We've seen you've had AVP too, right, in Orlando?
We had one AVP back in 2014.
And in Hollywood, we had 2 AVPs. So both exactly the same house. Very strong house, and it was also like super detailed and gory, which I actually really enjoyed. It was terrifying seeing Alien. It was terrifying seeing Predator. Halloween has always been a staple at the event, though, and despite there being not as many good Halloween houses in the more recent years, obviously we've seen it on both coasts, in Orlando and Hollywood this past year. Even though Orlando was a little bit stronger, it still lacked in what Michael Myers should be all about. So with that being said, I gotta honestly, and I think I may get some hate for this, I gotta go with AVP. I think for packing a punch and it being at the event one time, It shows a lot more than Halloween not being consistent with the quality of houses.
See, I see what you're saying there. And every Halloween house that I've gone through, except for one, I've loved.
Right.
And that one being the one that was in the Shrek queue, which was Shrek 4. I mean, Halloween 4, not Shrek 4. God. I enjoyed them all, except for that one. AVP left a mark on me. So I kind of have to... I see where you're coming from. Like, I've been left with the taste in my mouth of wanting an Alien house ever since we had Alien versus Predator. So it's like... I agree 100% that you prefer AVP. However, Halloween, I feel like, has been a rock hard staple, like you said, and has pulled out the fans know, like not the fans, but like the general public love Halloween.
Yeah.
And just based off of last year alone, you
Compared
can see how
to, like,
long those lines got.
AVP.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to go with Halloween here, and this might be our first coin flip.
Okay, this is where it gets crazy. This is where it goes to the coin flip. And like I said, Halloween is a staple, but the way I'm thinking is just packing a punch. That's it.
All right.
That's
Do you want heads or
go
tails?
to the coin toss? All right, I guess we'll just which is okay. I'm gonna go heads.
Heads. I don't know if there's a way for me to like. Yeah, no, it's blurry. It's heads. So it's.
Okay, there we go. AVP advances to round 2.
Poltergeist. Going up against Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh man. Go ahead, Adrian.
Whew. This is a matchup right here. This is a really good matchup.
Yeah, forget the whole random.
So Killer Clowns. Yeah. Killer Clowns was a fun house. Like over here in Orlando, and everyone told me the first Killer Clowns they had in Hollywood was a really fun house as well, and it was a lot of people's favorite house that year.
Right.
However, when it came back, people were kind of sad that they removed some scenes and they didn't really add anything to it.
Right.
Right? And then Poltergeist, that house, phenomenal. I've never wanted to go through a house more almost every single night of Horror Nights, except for another house that was there the year after that. But this was a banger.
Yep.
So if I have to choose between these two, let's go into the guy that moved the bodies and moved the headstones and left the bodies. Yeah.
Honestly, this is a tough one, man, because it was a little bit disappointing seeing Killer Clowns last year in Hollywood, and seeing how the quality went down a little bit. To be honest, compared to the previous version, everyone was so excited for it, and then it just kind of let us down. Now this is a B movie that I've been wanting to see at the event for the longest time. So when it first got announced that it was coming to Halloween Horror Nights, the first year, I was super pumped. I mean, y'all got it as a scare zone in Orlando before we even got it as a house in Hollywood, and that was awesome. The house in Orlando was awesome. Clownzilla was awesome, and to this day, people still argue which one was better, Hollywood or Orlando. But that second Hollywood letdown just kind of killed it for me. And while Poltergeist wasn't as strong as a house in Hollywood as it was in Orlando, obviously you have the full-scale pool scene in Orlando compared to in Hollywood. There were some very notable scenes in the Hollywood version for Poltergeist, and the facade alone was super incredible, especially at night. And I think with all that being said, I think my vote has to go to Poltergeist as well.
Okay. Look at that. No coin flip needed for this one. No, but I feel that. It hurts because Killer Clowns was fun and it was a great experience. Right. I always found myself having a great time going to that house.
The horror community as a whole just really loves that movie.
Yeah. And it's growing. It's a cult classic at this point. Everyone loves it. So we move forward. We're blasting through this, but we have a lot to go through.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right now we have Stranger Things versus Us. And that's Stranger Things 1 and 2.
Okay. So Stranger Things versus Us. So now Stranger Things in Orlando the second year wasn't as strong as the first year. Same goes to Hollywood. Obviously that was a huge downgrade, and people still didn't enjoy the house in 2018 for Stranger Things 1 in Hollywood. And I feel like that's because it was a transition from like horror movies / horror classics to general public getting people in the gates type of properties, as we see nowadays with Netflix and whatnot. Which I feel like that's why I got a lot of slack. However, I do think that Stranger Things 1 was strong on both coasts, with the, exception of Stranger Things 2. Stranger Things 1 was really strong on both coasts, and the actors really brought it to life. Us on both coasts was also very strong. I mean, the fact that they were able to make these non-scary, like they were just faces, they weren't, you weren't wearing a mask or anything like that. There was no Demogorgon in Us. It was just humans in red suits. And they still somehow made that terrifying. And not to mention, in Hollywood, a big thing is black walls. There weren't a whole lot of black walls in Hollywood. They had a massive inside facade in Orlando and a really neat outside facade in Hollywood. I think I gotta go with Us on this one.
I love that facade for Us. And like you were saying, like the fact that there was nothing really like
Yeah,
terrifying besides people themselves really made like this house feel scary. Like mentally I was like this is creepy because someone else is in this house and it's
yeah,
not just your like Freddy Krueger or your Jason
exactly.
Voorhees. It's us. And like it was executed so perfectly. Like the first time I went to his house, it was mind blowing how perfectly it was to the movie. But then stepping back to looking at Stranger Things, the very first iteration we had, the second one, I can brush it off the side of the street. I don't care for it as much. However, the first iteration was literally a perfect depiction of the source material. You go
Yeah,
through the very first entrance. It's not a facade. It was the elevator scene. Well, not the elevator scene, but like the very first scene in the show where it's like the alarm going off and the
right.
Demogorgon coming straight out, and it's
Yeah.
like it really draws you straight in, and like
And not to
it's tough for
mention,
me.
on
It's
both
tough.
coasts, there's like a buyer's house facade.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Oh wow.
I brought that up and made it harder
But
for me.
I'm going. I might have to agree with you though. I feel like Us itself being the one super strong house
Hmm.
is better than Stranger Things having a phenomenal house and then a house.
Let's
So
also
I'm gonna
not
have to go with
forget the
Us.
fact that Us was featured last year in Hollywood.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was in
Yeah,
the
Terror Tram.
Terror Tram.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So they also
and
still. I mean, there's
it was
nothing
like
really much that you can judge on that, but.
yeah, it was like seamlessly like played in there too, because like I think it was in
Hmm.
the Nope sets, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Like, yeah, that it was so cool to see. I watched videos on it. If you want to watch videos on it, go watch Exploring Attractions. Big trust.
Big trust.
Yeah.
But Us moves on.
Us moves on.
No
No
coin
coin flip
flip here.
needed. And this is where things get a little goofy, I guess. So right now we have Ghostbusters going up against Insidious.
Let me
Because
see
we've had
what you
Insidious.
have. Okay. Okay.
We
I
had
see. I
Insidious
see what
back
you
in
mean.
2015. Yeah. We had Insidious back in 2015. However, we also had it in the Horrors of Blumhouse.
Hmm.
And that Horrors of Blumhouse still stands to this day as one of my favorite Horror Nights houses of all time. It featured, I believe, The Purge, Insidious, and Sinister, but it was basically just an Insidious house. Insidious to me
Yeah.
is probably one of the most terrifying franchises to ever be taken like hold at Horror Nights,
Hmm.
but it's just so adequate. And it's rumored to come this year as well, so I'm excited to hopefully see that. But on the other hand of this little 1-2 punch, we have Ghostbusters, which is not scary. The sets were amazing. It felt like a dark ride come to life. And technically speaking, you go to Horror Nights to walk through the movies. Like that's what the whole what it's to me when I wanted to go to Horror Nights for the first time was to walk through a movie. So seeing Ghostbusters and walking through Ghostbusters is just phenomenal. But with it not being as scary, I'm gonna have to go with Insidious.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit of a difficult one here because you have Ghostbusters, which was very strong on both coasts. I mean, Orlando with the sets, before Hollywood started to get more involved in putting more money into their sets, Orlando really killed them in set design, but Hollywood had that Hollywood punch to it. The actors were great. There was actual terrifying moments where even though Ghostbusters isn't a scary film, there were still terrifying moments. But with Insidious, there's just so many strong houses, and with the exception of the one in Blumhouse in Orlando and the last one that we did over in Hollywood, the Insidious property as a whole, terrifying and pulled off very, very well. I mean, I remember in the most recent Insidious maze that we've had here in Hollywood, the last scene was like a 5 character scare room, and it was awesome because when they all hit it
Oh
at the
wow!
same time, you were walking out shaking in your boots. So I got to give this to Insidious, especially since it is rumored to come back this year.
Please give us a banger of a house. That's all I'm hoping for. And then up next we have Spirits of the Coven. This is actually really kind of funny, and American Horror Story.
Hold on, let me take a drink
Because
for this one real quick.
Because technically, right? Well, no, it's not a coven. It's more of like a cannibal colony. Because you guys had Roanoke as its own house, right? For the second year.
I hate Spirits of the Coven. I'm just gonna say right now, it's American Horror Story.
do we have to argue this one at all? We can defend it in the next round.
We don't. No. Spirits of the Coven sucked. I'm sorry, the actors were great, and there's some set design that was good, but it just wasn't. It was not a good house altogether.
The story it kind of fell apart to me. It felt like it was a story of two houses.
The story fell flat. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. With that being said, American Horror Story moves on to the next round, and up next,
woohoo!
I say it's two heavy hitters right here. You got The Walking Dead and Scarecrow the Reaping.
Ooh, very interesting.
Because this comes into the
you
play
could go
of
first.
There's a whole lot of houses. Yeah, there's a whole lot of houses, and then an attraction as well. Well, a walkthrough attraction for Hollywood.
Right.
And then it's two very strong houses, one in Orlando and one in Hollywood. I did not like the first time I did The Walking Dead. I liked it the second time, didn't like it the third time. I liked it the fourth time, did not like it the fifth time. So, The Walking Dead has a running theme of being good and then being bad. However, Scarecrow has a track record of being very good and very scary because I wasn't able to walk through the house last year in California. However, I saw the walkthroughs of it and it seemed like a great haunted house. And the one in Orlando, bear none, phenomenal, great scares, exactly what I wanted. Scarecrow's moving on for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think with The Walking Dead and Scarecrow, they are heavy hitters because The Walking Dead has been around for so long. Probably one of the longest properties at Horror Nights, along with The Purge. But there were some good Walking Dead houses. Like, I remember What Was Not Far was very strong in Hollywood. And then obviously the attraction kind of fell flat a little bit in my opinion, and that's just because they were targeting something else. But then you have something along the lines of Scarecrow, which comes in to Orlando, delivers a great house, and then moves over to Hollywood, and is probably one of the best, at least on some people's maps, the best Horror Nights house that they've ever been to in Hollywood. Just because of the scares, the set design. I mean, the scares you cannot expect from anywhere. The one in Orlando, same thing. There were so many clever scares there. I mean, there was like bungee scares and whatnot. And not to mention, they got it in a scare zone too last year. And the scare zone was phenomenal because there was so many unique scares there where they were popping out of nowhere. And it was in this dark little alleyway. I mean, that alleyway is always typically dark, but with Scarecrow, it just felt like it worked. The Stilt Walker was awesome. It's got to go to Scarecrow. Easy W for me.
Yeah, it's easy though. I almost forgot about mentioning the scare zone because like it had a completely different name. But Cursed Soil was a great scare zone too.
Yeah.
And speaking of last year, we have two houses that were featured in Orlando, and well, one of them was featured in Hollywood. But we have The Weekend, After Hours Nightmare, and Fiesta de Chupacabras. I'll let you go first on this one.
So the thing that I had said before, and everyone gave me crap, at least in my friend group, meaning Adrian, Chris, and Connor, about not about enjoying Chupacabra, because I did enjoy it. It wasn't to the extent that I wanted to, but I think, like I've mentioned before in my rankings and in my vlog, that it's just because I grew up with that side of things. You know, I come from a Mexican family. I grew up with hearing the stories of Chupacabra and La Llorona and stuff like that. So I enjoyed it in that sense. Now, if I didn't have that attached to me, would I have enjoyed it as much? Probably not, because it just wasn't what we were expecting. It was more like the party goers are scaring you and not actually the chupacabra, who looked a little bit friendly. But then the weekend after hours nightmare, I was the person that said, hey guys, stop ruling this out because I think it'll be great. And there were some people who jumped over and said, okay, yeah, it was great. You know, we did not expect this. Even our buddy Tony, who was not excited for this, he enjoyed it a lot. But I still agree that the weekend after hours nightmare, huge success. I'm a little bit bummed because it seems like Dawn FM's not going to be coming to the event this year, allegedly. But I think After Hours Nightmare is up there in my top 10 houses of all time at Horror Nights. And I've been going for 11 plus years. And that really impressed me a whole lot. It's got to go weekend for me.
Okay. I enjoyed Chupacabras because just like Scott, even though I'm not Mexican myself, I have grown up with folklore like this. And honestly, I was expecting so much. I walk into the house and I love the facade. The facade was literally like a South American like city having a party, of course celebrating Chupacabra.
And like you didn't even need to see the other side for it, you know, like you could just hear it.
Yeah, it was so cool. Like you hear the fireworks going off, you hear people going crazy. It was such a cool setting. However, The Weeknd is something that even when it was rumored, I was beyond excited for it because The Weeknd was one of my, well, still is one of my favorite like musical artists. And going into this house, I should never do this. Don't ever do this when you're going into an haunted house. Do not have your expectations super high. But I went in with my expectations super high, and I was not disappointed. This house was great, and then watching walkthroughs of the one in Hollywood also showed me that it was great. And just like Scott, I'm really sad that they're potentially not getting a sequel, at least not this year. But
yeah, it could come back.
Who knows what can happen? You never know. Things always skip a year.
And the thing is too is like in both houses they offer two completely different experiences, and that's typically the case with Orlando and Hollywood. But this really felt like that. If you went to the Hollywood, you're getting something completely different. If you went to Orlando, you're getting something drastically different. You had a Stiltwalker scare on all fours of the lizard that would actually come out to you, and you were like, literally could stand underneath it. And then in Orlando, you had it super close quarters to where scares were getting you a lot more than they would in Hollywood. So that was a really unique thing about it.
But needless to say, The Weeknd's moving on. Easy. And now moving on to something. Now moving on to something that is near and dear to me and Scott. We have La Llorona going up against Descendants of Destruction.
I mean, do we even need to fight about this one either?
No, we don't. We don't.
La Llorona reigns supreme and still is my number one for this past year. It didn't start off as my number one. And I was like, oh no, I feel like since I saw it back, it doesn't rank as high as it typically would. But towards the end of the run, it went up to number one.
So, La Llorona's next. Like, La Llorona's moving on. No problem.
Easy.
It's a banger. Next, I think is a little bit of a tougher one for me to say. We have Dead Man's Pier, Winter's Wake, going up against House of a Thousand Corpses. Do you want me to take this one at first?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Dead Man's Pier is the sequel to a scare zone that I really liked back at HHN 26. And honestly, did not disappoint. The set design was amazing. It was probably one of the most beautiful haunted houses you'll ever see. And it wasn't truly scary. It was more of a story that you were following along with. And I found that really intriguing and really cool. Something that's different, not your typical, oh, you're getting in here to get scared. You're getting in here to, like, learn a whole story. Which, all in all, solid. Made it one of my favorite houses last year. But on the other end of this coin, we do have House of a Thousand. When it got announced, I didn't care about it. I could have just not done... I could have done without it. I ended up falling in love with this house. I don't like this movie. Still don't like the movie. But the house just made me fall in love. And going through this house 100 plus times and basically becoming friends with most of the cast made me love this house so much that I'm going to have to pick it to move on right now.
Oh, man. Dead Man's Winter Wake versus House of Thousand Corpses. See, I was one to say. I think that it was a little bit ruined for me just because everybody hyped up Dead Man's a little bit, and while it was a strong house, it did not pack the scares for me at all. The sets were incredible, and the thing with I've noticed with fans of theme parks and horror and in general is they don't take into account everything. For me, I'm going to haunted house for everything, right? Like I go to Horror Nights for the movies and whatnot, and to Scary Farm for traditional haunt stuff, and maybe Hello Scream in Orlando and San Diego for traditional haunt stuff. But when I go to a horror event, I want everything combined. You know, I want set, scares, everything else. You know, senses, I guess you could say. While Dead Man's had the sets and whatnot, it just didn't have the scares in my opinion. Whereas House of a Thousand Corpses had the scares, did have the sets, not to the extent that Dead Man's did, but it did have the sets. And not to mention, I had gone to the original one in Hollywood, which was a very strong house. So seeing the one in, I think it was 2018, that wasn't as strong, really didn't do much to me because I had already walked through the one in the earlier years. So, in my opinion, it's got to go to House of a Thousand Corpses just for the history with it.
Nostalgia wins on this one.
Nostalgia.
And now we're going Freddy vs. Jason versus American Werewolf in London.
Okay. All right.
Oh, wow.
So Freddy vs. Jason or American Werewolf in London. I love Freddy vs. Jason. I had been wanting to see that for the longest time at Horror Nights, and I didn't get to walk through the Orlando one, unfortunately. But at least for Hollywood, it was in 2016 when we had like one of the best years ever, and now we've kind of leveled up from that. Where I think that this past year, 2022, was a lot better than 2016, just with the level of set design and detail that Hollywood put into their event. But Freddy vs. Jason, that's one that I can never not get out of my head, and I would hope that one day it does come back just because everything all combined. And then with American Werewolf in London, sorry, froze it there. With American Werewolf in London, also very strong house on both coasts. You had the giant werewolf, which was really neat to see, and now we see the werewolf featured in different houses here and there. You can see Easter eggs and whatnot. But I gotta say Freddy vs. Jason, like, there's really not much else that I can say about that other than I think that Freddy vs. Jason takes the cakes on this one.
Okay. So Freddy vs. Jason, to me, I really enjoyed the house. I love the fact that, at least the one in Orlando it felt more of a mashup house than it did the movie. Because we walked into, what's that thing called? Camp Crystal Lake, and then we went to Elm, and altogether it was cool. I know that in Hollywood you guys had the Craven Industries facade to pay homage to Wes Craven.
Yeah. It was small, but it was cool with lighting effects.
It was so cool. Another thing to take into account with Freddy vs. Jason for you guys was the fact that there was the Titans of Terror house, well, maze back then, that had Freddy, Jason, and Leatherface. I think I would also be counted in with Freddy vs. Jason here.
Right, yeah.
So, that house was really good. Like, just looking at it. Freddy vs. Jason was fun. However, American Werewolf in London was the first house to actually make me be afraid of, like, puppets in a house. If that makes sense. Like, I used to not really get scared of puppets, but this werewolf was just swinging and then just... It was intense. It was very intense. Yeah. And I'm going to have to go with a coin flip on this one.
Okay. Fair enough. I was waiting for another coin flip to come up.
Heads or tails?
Tails.
Tails? Alright. Oh, shit. Alright. It's tails.
Oh, there we go. I'm
gonna,
2 for 2, baby.
It's not gonna
Let's go.
It's not going to focus. Oh, there we go. Tails.
There we go. Tails. So you know that we're not faking it. I'm taking nothing but dubs.
Oh.
Listen here, HHN community.
Oh, this is a fun mashup right here. Number 11 on our list here is The Haunting of Hill House versus The Shining. So, both very suspenseful haunted houses. But if I look at Hollywood's Hill House, my choice would be easy. But just focusing on Orlando's, because that's the one that I went through. The set design, glorious. The house itself, scary. And altogether, very well done. The Shining, on the other hand, also very well done. Set design, amazing. The elevator, well, yeah, the blood elevator scene was kind of okay in Orlando. We didn't really have like actual like water, because I think Hollywood, you guys had the water effect.
Yeah, a little bit of
behind
it,
the scrim.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have anything like that. We just had like a screen that would like be the girls, and then it would be the elevator, and then the girls again. Which, it was fun altogether. I really enjoyed The Shining, but if I have to pick one here, I'm gonna have to pick Hill House. If I'm being quite honest.
Okay. Oh man. See, with Hill House, it was good in Hollywood, not as strong as it should have been. But honestly, mad props to them for pulling off what they did, because they literally only had like 4 months to plan this event as a whole, like to get everything together, because they weren't even sure they were going to be able to run it in California. Hollywood or Orlando's was obviously very strong. Like the facade was incredible. Everything about the house was incredible. The Shining, you could say the same thing. In 2017, that was a really rough year for Hollywood. Not too sure for Orlando, but at least for Hollywood, it was a really rough year. And that house delivered. Now, I think, in my opinion, they're pretty even on the spectrum for me, because one was really good, one was really bad, but then Orlando was really good, but the other one was like okay. So I'm gonna give this a tie for me. So that means by default we'll have Hill House move on.
Oh, never mind. We're good.
Well, by default, because technically that'd mean that you have a full win for Hill House and I have a half a win. So we'll do it like that.
Oh, okay. Here, I'm gonna save us some time here, okay? So we have the Universal Monsters franchise going against Tooth Fairy. You want me to save us time here?
Yeah, just move on to Tooth Fairy.
All right. Tooth Fairy's moving on to the next round.
Yep, Tooth Fairy's definitely moving on.
Mm-hmm. No.
It's a joke, by the way, guys.
It's a joke. Don't take it seriously. All right, so this one's a little fun. This one's exciting. We got From Dusk Till Dawn and Krampus.
Okay. I think that this is, in my opinion, a no-brainer. I think it's Krampus, but I do want to say that From Dusk Till Dawn was a sleeper house on both coasts, and it doesn't deserve the credit that it received. Like, it didn't get as much credit as I thought. But Krampus can't lose, like, to Dusk Till Dawn. It has to be Krampus.
Yeah. Krampus is a really good house. It was really good on both coasts. The facade in Hollywood is untouchable. And like you said, From Dusk Till Dawn doesn't get the credit that it deserves. It's a really good haunted house. And I would love to see the actual movie as a haunted house someday. Maybe it'll happen, who knows, but the show was cool to see. Alright, up next, we got Trick or Treat and Saw, the games of Jigsaw. Did you do any more than just the one Saw?
Yeah, we did a couple Saws.
Just do one Saw?
Yeah, we did a couple Saws
Okay.
that I experienced. But Trick or Treat all the way, baby. It's just, I don't think that Saw can work in a house, like, as far as everything together.
Not to be that guy, but Trick or Treat's moving on.
Yeah.
Alright, we have The Exorcist and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, depending on the haunted house you're walking through.
Ooh.
For us, they were both in 2016. And then we had TCM 2 years ago. The Exorcist, to this day, is one of the creepiest haunted houses I've ever walked through. Even the movie gives me chills every now and then. Like, you can't hear that piano and not get a little... Well, it's not a piano. It's I forgot what the name of the actual instrument is called. But you can't hear that and then just not feel eerie. I was not a fan of TCM in 2016. 2021 won me back. But neither of them can hold a stone to The Exorcist, in my opinion. So, I'm going Exorcist.
Oh, wow. The history with Texas Chainsaw and your guys' event is a lot different compared to Hollywood's. We had, like, TCM. You
guys had Blood Brothers and everything, right?
Blood Brothers. We had it in 2021, which was so freaking strong for like I said, a late planned event. It was probably one of the best houses, and that's just because they brought a bunch of stuff back. And then with The Exorcist, I personally enjoyed it in 2016, and on both coasts I think it was strong. Orlando's had unique effects to it that Hollywood's didn't, but Hollywood's was still very impressive how they pulled it off back then. Nowadays, since they have brought it back in 2021, it was not as impressive seeing the quality that Horror Nights has ranked up to. So it was back in 2016, but just not nowadays. So I think with that, and even though Orlando's was so strong in 2016, and you didn't see it any time after that, I think that the edge goes to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, in my opinion.
Heads or tails?
Tails. We'll go tails again.
It is heads.
Ah, damn. I was almost perfect.
Hold on. You almost ran a
gonna
clean
focus
sweep
in.
through the first round.
That would have been awesome.
So Exorcist moves on. Alright, and now the final matchup of the round of 32. We have the Horrors of Blumhouse as a whole and Ash vs. Evil Dead. This could be an easy choice for me. Go ahead.
Alright, I'll go ahead. Okay, so Horrors of Blumhouse versus the Ash vs. Evil Dead. Ash vs. Evil Dead was struggled, while Horrors of Blumhouse has also struggled, but on both coasts this past year, especially in Orlando. Orlando scared the living shit out of me for their Horrors of Blumhouse, especially the Black Phone section. And overall, I think with the properties involved of Blumhouse, it's gotta top Ash vs. Evil Dead.
I have to agree with you. Horrors of Blumhouse is moving on. I'll give Ash vs. Evil Dead the respect that it deserves. It was a really fun house. It was really enjoyable. I liked walking through it, and I felt like a ninja losing his virginity. Alright, we're going to move on to the Sweet 16. And now we go all the way back up, and we have...
Here's where it starts to get a little bit
AVP.
faster, just because we've already given our reasons.
Yeah. This one will be a lot more exciting, you know, the whole... Plus, I feel like it'll get a lot more intense, maybe more coin flips. Mm-hmm. Who knows? We have AVP and Poltergeist. I'm going Poltergeist. I don't think I need a reason or a rhyme. I'm going Poltergeist. It's my choice here.
See, with me, like I said, I think Poltergeist suffered a little bit in Hollywood, while AVP was so strong in both Orlando and in Hollywood. But also, Poltergeist was extremely strong in Orlando, but you have one negative in all that talk, and that is in Poltergeist. So, with that, I gotta go AVP, so I'm picking heads.
He's going heads. That's a nice flip. It's tails. It's tails.
Damn. Alright, we're both tied up. And,
We're tied up.
Yeah. And Poltergeist moves on.
Alright, and now we got Us and Insidious. Ooh.
This is a good one.
Ooh.
I think
so, like,
Insidious
they're both
is
solid
like,
houses.
Insidious is still strong. It's obviously become like a quote-unquote staple at the event, since they have seen it many years now. But Us, once again, it opened up a whole new world to haunted houses as far as what they can do with stuff that's not necessarily scary. So I think with that being said, and the mastermind of Jordan Peele behind it, I gotta go with Us.
Damn. Alright. So, I really liked Us a lot. However, Insidious to me still is going to take the cake here.
Ooh.
Just for the fact that it's terrifying still to this day, and I am still nervous and excited that it's rumored for this year's event. So, are you going heads or tails?
I'll go heads.
Heads? Alright. It is heads. I don't know if it'll focus. Focus on the quarter, please.
There we
Heads.
go.
There goes us.
Us moves on.
Told you, we're blowing past this sweet 16.
Mhm.
Sweet 16. Yeah.
Sweet 16.
All right. We have AHS going up against Scarecrow the Reaping.
Oh man. See, I think that AHS, the first one that we did with Freak Show and Murder House, was like awesome. Like that was such a cool haunted house. And then it also had a hotel in it, and then we got our own Roanoke house, which was lackluster. But I think that honestly, like with American Horror Story having such a strong year, I don't know, man. This is a hard one. Okay, I'm gonna pass it on to you. Let me think a little bit more.
Okay. So, like you said, American Horror Story had a very solid first year with Freak Show, Murder House, and
Hotel.
not Roanoke, Hotel. The second year in Orlando, we had Coven, Roanoke, and what was the third season? Asylum. And that right there was so strong and so solid. We had back-to-back great houses. They were both in the same location,
Yeah, and
too.
I was so jealous that you guys got Asylum. So jealous.
I was upset because I wanted to see what Hollywood could have done with all three of those properties together, and I thought it was going to continue that whole following along with each other thing there, but it didn't. But for me, between American Horror Story and Scarecrow, I'm going to have to go American Horror Story just because it was two very strong houses here in Orlando, and then a very strong one in Orlando, like in Hollywood as well.
Yeah, I mean, now that you bring up Asylum and whatnot in Orlando, I think that makes up my mind. I think even though Hollywood didn't do Asylum and yet Roanoke still was not the best, I think that it has to definitely go to American Horror Story.
Oh, Scott, this next round.
Oh man, I'm excited. Let's go.
It's The Weeknd versus La Llorona.
Ooh, all right. So La Llorona's the winner.
I'm gonna put all my bias aside. I'm going with La Llorona.
Oh yeah. It pains me because I want to say The Weeknd, but like that is just so disrespectful to my own list.
Yeah. All right. House of 1,000 versus Freddy versus Jason. Yeah. I'm just gonna say House of 1,000 here.
I was just saying, I can guess what yours was gonna be.
I'll explain why too. So Freddy vs. Jason, while it was strong in Orlando, there were a few things that I did not like about the house. They used a lot of screens. And when I tell you screens, I mean there were literal screens in the haunted house where they could have placed actors. And I was not a fan of that. Literally, I'm watching Freddy get stabbed and then turn the corner, see him get stabbed again, but it's a screen. I'd understand if it were like actually physically Freddy and Jason going at each other, but it's just a screen, and it made it lackluster to me. So, House of 1,000.
Yeah, I mean, I think that despite Hollywood being really good, Orlando did suffer a little bit from Freddy vs. Jason, and House of 1,000 Corpses, like I said, still the nostalgia hits hard. So I've got to go House of 1,000 Corpses.
Look at us agreeing 3 times in a row.
Crazy.
Alright, now we have Hill House and Monsters. I think it's about to be 4 times in a row.
Yeah, I think that Monsters just sweeps the floor with Hill House easily.
Yeah, it's just such a strong property that...
And there really has not been a bad Monsters house, with the exception of Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, which wasn't bad, it just wasn't as good as the other ones. But other than that, they've all been great.
This is true. Oh, this is exciting. We have a Michael Dougherty right here. We have a Clash of Holidays right here. We have Trick or Treat versus Krampus. God damn. This is tough for me because I love both of these houses because they're both really good. And Trick or Treat here in Orlando, they built, it was the first house to have full to scale houses inside of a haunted house. Not the facade, but like the actually full to scale house inside of a haunted house, which was really cool to see. But Krampus was just such a good house altogether. Fuck. This is hard.
See, the thing with me is someone has asked me this before, and my answer was easy, and that's Krampus. Like, I like the idea of, we've seen Dark Christmas stuff before, and we've seen people copy the idea before. I think that this version of Dark Christmas just works so well, and obviously Trick or Treat, it being as good as a movie as it was, I think regardless that's going to work. I think there's a lot more of a challenge with Krampus to bring it to life, and I think that's why it goes over for me.
The way I look at it is, if I look at both these houses and someone asks me which one would I rather walk through again, I think I would probably say Krampus as well. Even though I love Trick or Treat, I think I'd rather walk through Krampus one more time. So, we're gonna go Krampus. Alright, we swept through this round because we're at the last one right now. We have Exorcist versus the Horrors of Blumhouse.
I think for me, Horrors of Blumhouse also beats Exorcist. I think that Exorcist, like I said in the previous round, is a strong property. It was not the best. Horrors of Blumhouse has had strong properties. Overall, they have had a good track record if you're combining everything all together with Orlando and Hollywood. And even if you want to consider just Blumhouse properties alone and not Horrors of Blumhouse stuff, then you could say that Blumhouse has a strong track record with The Purge and stuff like that and Scare Zone. So for me, it's got to be Blumhouse.
Yeah, I agree. That one's too easy.
And the thing is too, I want to kind of, before we move on, I want to kind of say, like, Blumhouse is it's going to be your fun house. It's not going to be ever a serious haunted house. Obviously, we know what their movies are more fun, more campy, stuff like that. So it's something that I just enjoy walking through.
Yeah, they're such a fun walkthrough. Like, can't go wrong. All right, now it's time for the Elite Eight. And we have Poltergeist versus Us. Ooh. Two absolute bangers of houses. Damn. So I'm gonna list it like this: facades, I'm taking Poltergeist. Scares, I'm taking Poltergeist. Overall experience, I'm taking Us. But I don't know. This is hard, very hard. I'm gonna go Poltergeist to make it easier for myself, so I don't have to be the one to choose.
Yeah, I gotta say it goes to Poltergeist. It's hard because I really enjoy Us, and I think it's such a strong property, and I wouldn't mind seeing it back. But that Orlando Poltergeist house, man, was just impressive.
Oh damn! I don't know if nostalgia's gonna hit here. It might. Yeah, American Horror Story versus La Llorona.
Yeah, I mean it has to hit. For me, La Llorona's gonna top it. It's just for Horror Nights that specializes in movie-based properties, or I guess they already are properties, just movie-based haunted houses. For them to do an original, it was worked really well. And Orlando's really good at doing originals.
It's one of the best originals I've ever gone through.
Yeah,
like
and in Hollywood too.
So up next we have House of a Thousand Corpses going up against Universal Monsters.
Same thing. I think that towards the end here it's gonna be. We've done rankings before, and towards the end it's just so hard to not vote for the ones that are just the clear-cut winners, and that's Universal Monsters.
Yeah, if we're being honest, it's got to be Monsters. I love House of a Thousand, but I got to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah.
All right, and now we're at the final matchup here, and we have Krampus and the Horrors of Blumhouse. I'm gonna go Blumhouse here.
Oh man. The crime! Ban him from the HHN community. This is a crime. I'll tell you a crime. I'm voting
It's
for
a crime.
Krampus, baby. I'm voting for Krampus, baby. You can't
Alright.
sit here and tell me differently. It's
I
Krampus
do
all the way.
tails.
I'm doing tails.
Heads or tails?
Give me that, baby. Let's go.
In the air? Oh, wait, hold on. I gotta flip it again. 'Cause it landed on my lap. Tails? It's heads.
Ah.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry, Krampus.
I've never felt so much more let down in my life compared to walking through Stranger Things 2.
What about Spirits of the Coven? Alright,
Yeah.
so we're at our final four. In the first matchup we have Poltergeist going up against La Llorona.
Ooh. See, I feel like we're very split here because I know how much you love Poltergeist and I love La Llorona, but the obvious answer for me is La Llorona.
I just want a coin flip for fun.
Just to see.
Just for excitement. I know what I really want to win. Heads or tails?
Alright, well, you pick this time then. You pick the coin.
Alright, I'm gonna go tails. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. It's heads.
Oh yeah.
There you go, there you
W's,
go.
baby.
I don't even feel bad at that point.
Fly the birds.
Alright. And now we have this matchup makes so much sense. Just for the fact that they both have so much content. We have Universal Monsters and the Horrors of Blumhouse.
Yeah, they do. And it's crazy that Horrors of Blumhouse has made it this far. But if you think about it, despite how much we make fun of it every year, it's strong. It's a strong property. You can literally do it with anything because Blumhouse is always having movies coming out. So, with that being said, I gotta say Universal Monsters. It has to be Monsters. It's close.
I was gonna say I'm gonna agree with you
Yeah.
there, for the fact that just look at the set design for any of the monster houses. Look at the scares for any of the monster houses. Last year we had the triple scare in Legends Collide, and that was probably one of the best scares of the entire event.
Right.
And then in Hollywood, you guys had the Stilt Walk Anubis, right?
Yes.
That was beautiful. So, to make it easy, Monsters is moving on, and now we have our final two.
The final two. Excuse me, guys, while I plug
We've
in my
gone through
freaking computer.
32. Oh, it's all good. We've gone through 32 properties, and we're now at 2. Now this is harder than I would think it would be. Because I feel like both of these are not staples on both coasts, because one of them is a staple on the West Coast, and both the other two are staples on the coast. But La Llorona was such a solid house here in Orlando back in 2013. It's had some great houses in Hollywood, and I mean amazing houses. If you watch the walkthroughs, well, they were mazes back when they were there, but phenomenal mazes, and I feel like every one of them have been a banger. Universal Monsters, you can say the same exact thing, except for Frankenstein versus the Wolfman according to Scott, but I thought that looked like a really cool house as well.
Yeah.
So, if I'm going to have to make a choice here, I'm going to go Monsters. I love La Llorona, but I'm going Monsters.
You know, and I feel like it's a lot harder for me because if I'm looking at Horror Nights in general, it wasn't that big of a deal in Orlando for La Llorona as Universal Monsters is.
Yeah.
But also, Hollywood has had a big part in Universal Monsters just because of how passionate Murdy is with monsters. And not that the Orlando creative isn't, it's just Murdy. That's his baby right there. But for me, I have to say La Llorona. Because last year, like I said, I thought that the weekend was beating it, and then at the end I was like, no, La Llorona's still my number one. I need a house to beat La Llorona so my rankings can change. I need it to. And Bride of Frankenstein got close. Bride of Frankenstein got really close too.
That was such a good house on both coasts. It was such a good house.
Yeah.
All right, so I feel like since this is the final and we're divided, 2 out of 3.
All right, 2 out of 3.
All right,
Here
you
we
call
go.
the first one. I call the second one.
Okay,
All
I'm
right.
gonna go.
You
Tails.
call the first one.
Tails.
Oh shit. It is heads for the first one.
Oh damn! I'm down 1.
Please focus. All right. So I'm gonna go tails. Okay. Do you want me to flip that again?
Yeah, just flip it again. Yeah. Roll down your
Okay.
stomach.
It was gonna be tails. It's heads.
Oh, here we go.
So now
1v1. It comes
it's
down to
the
the final one.
this is the coin flip. This is for all the marbles. This is to find out who wins the tournament. All right, heads or tails?
All right, let's go heads.
All right, I'm not even gonna look at it. I'm just gonna see. Let it focus.
Well, you're looking at the backside, so you already know what it is. It's tails, baby. It's not
It's
La Llorona. Universal Monsters won our birthday.
Hello, it's monsters. You know what? That's fine. It was a fun matchups
Yeah.
all together. I feel like either one of those houses could have won it. If we're being completely honest, they were both amazing, phenomenal. But with all of that being said, if you guys enjoyed this little bracket, let us know. Maybe we could do some more stuff like this.
Yeah.
Even though this is completely like unorganized, but that's how
Yeah.
we are. That's our life
I
when it
think
comes down to
that-
this kind of stuff because we just like to have fun.
I think that tomorrow, and me and Adrian will talk about it, but we want to do some form of like wrestling type of thing too.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Right. Even if it's not like a permanent thing, but I mean, Adrian and I are both passionate about wrestling, so I think it'd be cool to do something like that.
If you guys don't know, we're big wrestling fans too, but I feel like a lot of the Horror Nights community as well are wrestling fans.
Yeah, I've noticed
So-
that, and I want to do like a WrestleMania predictions video, and obviously you guys have already seen Adrian's wrestling content, so I'm sure that people wouldn't mind that. I think that'd be cool to do.
I'm down. We get to. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
I think we could really pull it off.
And I'll probably
We
be
can go
filmed
from Horror
before
Nights
this video
Unscripted
even
to-
goes out.
But yeah, it was fun. Universal Monsters, congrats to winning, even though none of the monsters are going to be watching this. Now that I think about it. Lyra might have watched this, but like none of the monsters are watching this. She knows how we feel about her.
Yep, I'm
But yeah,
glad.
if you guys enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up. Comment down below what you want to see next from us together. Subscribe to both of our channels. I'm going to put all of Scott's information down in the description. I'll also put him in the corner wherever the eye is. I don't know what corner it's in, but it's in one of these two.
Please
So-
subscribe down below. 10K subs. Thank you all, because a lot of them have gone over from Adrian's to mine and mine to Adrian's. So you guys all rock, and who have supported us through like the park closures and everything. That's where it all started with Adrian.
Dude,
and I.
that was such a... When you think about it, that was such a crazy time.
Yeah,
Like,
that was the start of our friendship
we
right
went
there,
from-
which is crazy.
we went from like not knowing each other at all, because me and Scott didn't know each other until 2020.
No.
Yeah, because we knew of each other, but we didn't
Yeah.
know each other. And then this beautiful friendship blossomed. So
Adrian's
thank
seen
you
me
guys
drunk
for
at
kind
Horror
of like
Nights multiple
keeping
nights,
together.
so it's been awesome.
That's how you know it's real. When you've seen your drunk friends at Horror Nights. If you haven't seen your friend drunk at Horror Nights, are they really your friend?
Specifically Horror Nights, not any other park. It has to be at Horror Nights.
No, has to be Horror Nights. We're not talking about Howl-O-Scream,
Yeah.
San Diego. But yeah, in the words of our old friend, well, he's still our friend, say hollowed.